Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and obviously I'm down in the studio again. Now this morning, well yesterday, you watched me down here, you watched Henry down here getting set up for doing the casting, and you watched me doing a little bit of the casting bits and pieces, and today the job is cleaning the castings that I made yesterday. We had a generally good casting session. There were a couple of minor issues. Had trouble with the temperature on one of the furnaces. Got that fixed. So there were a couple of minor screw-ups, but nothing major. And in general, I think we got a pretty good collection of casts. But we won't know until we clean them all the way. And that's always one of the hard things, is you have to clean them to a certain point before you know whether you have actually gotten anything worth using. Now, you can guess on some pieces when they're a total fail. You know, there's only half a piece there or something. But sometimes it's the fine details that might be missing off a piece. And that can be caused by a bunch of different things. So that racket you hear in the background is a vibratory tumbler. Same sort of machine that they use in real, when I say real, I mean like not just change your tires, but actually repair your vehicles. Shops that will clean parts, because you can throw something in there with cleaning solution and it'll scrub the part for you without you having to put your hands on it. So this morning before breakfast, I threw in the parts that I had cast yesterday. After I cast them yesterday, I left them in this container over here in water overnight to help continue to keep the investment, remember that's the plaster, soft. And because it gets really, this is some old stuff that's left over from when I was actually doing the caster, and it's, you know, you can break it, but when it's wedged in between pieces, it can be quite crunchy and hard to get out. So I let that soak overnight on purpose. And this morning I took a dental pick and pulled out the big chunks. I didn't worry about the little stuff. Threw them in the vibratory tumbler, added plain old water, and it also has media in there. And by media I mean little shapes that are designed to help polish off stuff. So I'm going to turn you around. I'll show you the vibratory tumbler. I'm probably also going to turn it off. It's incredibly noisy. And one of the things I have to be careful of when I'm doing this is my normal procedure for doing this kind of work is I put on a pair of earphones. Well, not earphones. They're actually hearing protectors to go over the top. And I listen to music in my hearing aids. It's a wonderful sheet because the hearing protectors drop the noise level to quiet, and then I can listen to the hearing aids at a normal volume. And I have to remember not to whistle, because I whistle a lot when I work, or I sing along with songs and that sort of stuff. And obviously we'll get copyright strikes if I'm whistling somebody's music who doesn't want it put out there. So I'm going to turn you guys around. I'm going to show you the very messy looking vibratory tumbler. They get sloppy. They're covered on the outside with whatever has been slopped in and out of them. So in this case, it's got investment all over the outside and it looks terrible, but it's not intended to be tidy and pretty.
Irene's down working in the studio and I'm doing some things up here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get these leads set to go on the battery. You may remember that I've been building a lithium-ion battery for our use at events where we don't have electricity, and this is one of them. I have a really handy little diagram that tells me how to hook up this particular battery management system. First, I get everything going so that it's not going to fall off the table. And I'm going to double check the polarity of this battery, as I'm going to make sure which of these two terminals is negative and which one's positive. Okay, so this one right here is positive. Now that's important because I need to make sure I connect this particular battery management system up in the right order. There is a wire that goes to the negative side and one that goes to the positive side. The one that goes to the positive side is a red wire, and this is it. I'm back with the Phillips head screwdriver. I'm going to go ahead and remove this screw from the terminal. I need this particular ring terminal to be used elsewhere. Not here. It's the wrong size. Yep, this is definitely the positive. You notice I'm double checking things quite a lot, and that's because some of these products are a little difficult to get. It took quite a number of months for this battery management system controller to be available. Okay, that's red. That goes to the positive side. I love these wire strippers. They do a great job. They grab the wire and then just go ahead and strip the wire off. That fits right in there. I'm using some wire crimpers that do a very special kind of crimp. These are manual. You can also get them in a hydraulic form. That's a lot nicer because you don't need a lot of hand strength to form the crimp.
So this is the wet finish area, or part of it. We have the little, this is a small vibratory tumbler, and that's what they call a flow through. You'll know it's got pipes going in and out of it, hoses. That means I can put water down in the bottom. There's a bucket down there. Let me tilt this down a little bit farther. There's a bucket down there. Yep. That bucket down there will have water in it, usually with a little bit of some sort of soap. Sometimes not, depends on what I'm doing. Solution in it, and that will pump up into the vibratory tumbler up here, which just literally shakes, and it's got stuff in it. Now, you'll notice there's a puddle of stuff on the floor down here right now. See that blue stuff right down there? Right there. That is media, and that bag decided yesterday that it was going to split open. Now, this bag has been inside the entire time we've had it. It has not been abused, but because of the UV that just naturally occurs at this altitude, it has disintegrated. And yesterday it decided it was going to start splitting on the side, and then from the vibration, because this whole table over here, which is actually a Gorilla shelf that's been dismantled, has caused that vibration to just spuddle out on the floor this morning. So I'm going to have to find a box that will fit into and scoop it up. There's about, I don't know, 20 pounds of media there. And let me give it a piece of the media. I'll show it to you. This is just one kind. The bag will say what grit it is. In other words, how rough it is on stuff. Just like sandpaper comes in grits, media comes in grits too. So it'll say on here which one it is. fiber finish, blah, blah, blah. And I don't remember which one that is. I think that's the heavy duty stuff. Let me see. No, it's the fine stuff, because it's what I've got in here. So that's the fine stuff. So we have two different kinds of vibratory tumblers. We have the flow through, which is this guy here. He's got the extra bucket and things like that. And the regular one here. All he does is shake around, and what's in him is in him. There's no water leaving. The advantage of the flow through here is that the sediment that's created by the process will settle into the bottom of that bucket and disappear. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn off the vibratory tumbler so it's a lot quieter, and I'll start pulling out a few things and talking about what I'm going to do next. Much quieter. Woo! Some of this mess here is plastic, and it's gradually disintegrating too, so I'll need to replace that piece of plastic. These are old. In a lot of workshops, you find a lot of stuff that has been repurposed. These are old Gorilla shelves that we used to use for storage, and Gorilla is simply a brand name, and they have adjustable shelves. So the bottom shelf has to be, in order to provide real stability, down on the floor. But the other shelves in between can be anywhere where you want them. So what I did was I created basically a workbench here that puts the top of these at a comfortable working height. One of the things you need to be careful of when you're working in a workshop and you're spending hours working with things is having your equipment at a good work height so that you're not winding up hyperextending your back or standing in some odd position or stretching too much, or, you know, it's one thing to stretch once in a while, it's another thing to be standing that way for hours. Now, the nice thing about some of these pieces of equipment is, like, the original thing that we bought here, I think this is an old, I'd have to try and actually chip off some of the dirt here. I think this is something we picked up at Harbor Freight. I have another vibratory tumbler that's over here that's from Rio Grande, and it is used only as a dryer. So I have, you can use these for all kinds of different things. Dirt. Actually, it's investment. But because this is a cheaper version, it had a regular steel threaded rod in the center of it, which of course rusts like instantly when you start using it with water. And of course, we're using it with water. So a number of years ago, we replaced that with a stainless steel rod, and these screw down holds that are needed to hold this thing together. Let me show you what happens if I don't have the screw down hold on here. See, the lid on this thing goes crazy, and you can't tell just from the brief period I ran it, but it'll start splashing water out. I could feel the splashes of water. Even with the lid sitting on top, it was starting to throw water out of here. So this has to be tightened down well in order to keep it from making one heck of a mess. Now, who's living in here? Well, we have some of that same blue media that I showed you in the other section, and we have a bunch of the castings. Now, one of the things you'll notice me do as I arm wrestle this stuff is that sometimes you'll get, I just pry these apart a little bit, sometimes you'll get these pieces of media actually stuck in the castings, which can be kind of annoying. But this, for instance, is a Viking, what we call an angle key. It looks like an angle. And, yep, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in there. And it looks like I have a successful cast of 5 pieces. So that's great. There's one piece of media stuck in under here. When I cut these loose, that'll come out. So what I need to do, look at the hiccups. No hiccups. What I need to do now is I will put these into a container. Let's see, what do I have for a container? What's convenient? Nothing. Nothing is convenient. Okay, then I will make this convenient. I'm going to literally just plop these on here, and I'll be looking at each one as I take it out to see what does it need. We'll also be popping some of the this is one of the dental picks I was using yesterday. It's covered with investment, but that's okay. Nothing's clean yet, but I'll be popping out some of the pieces. This has got a button, which looks great, a end piece. I'm in the process of developing some new products, so this is a new end piece that I want to be able to use, and 2 Roman good luck charms. Awesome. This is sterling silver. Oh, that was bronze. Those 2 were bronze, by the way. This has a raven pendant because Odin, the god of the Norse people, had ravens that gave him information. So that little phrase that we have about a little birdie told me so, yeah, in Odin's case it was true. He had 2 ravens that snuck around and picked up information and brought him information. Got a piece of media stuck in there. It'll come out eventually. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 ends that I'm in the process of developing, like I said, new cast pieces. I have a silver raven, and I have 2 medallions. And at least on brief examination, without cutting them off, they look good. And I'll continue this process. Here again we have sterling silver. I've got 1 failed thimble, another that looks like it's fine, and 4 medallions. And that's the first time those particular thimbles have been cast, so I did not expect perfect casting. I usually need to do some adjustments on the molds and stuff before they're perfect. But it was a quick last-minute experiment to see if I could develop another size. Ah, that must be where it came from. I found a random piece of bronze in one of the containers, and I was like, that's a button, because these are Tudor buttons. See, they're flowers. And when these are, I sell them plain, but I also sell them with enamel in them, so that you can match the clothes that you want to have fancy buttons on. So I got almost all the buttons out of there. That's not bad. But there was just one that didn't cast right, and that was the one in the center. And must not have had a good connection. That happens sometimes. I had to work kind of quickly for this casting session, so probably not my finest work in terms of screwing some of this stuff up. But it was worth the rush to see if I could get a casting done, because I am out of some things, and I don't like to go to events where I'm out of things. Now, I will be out of other things. There's nothing I can do about that. There was no way I could cast enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 crosses there that look great. And it's an interesting pattern there, but it looks like I've also got 2 Thor's hammers that came out fine.
Well, you may notice that I'm not there right now. I've had to go out and see if I can find some ring terminals that I can clamp onto the end of those wires. And sad to say, I don't have the right size for the wire, so that'll be something I'm have to do tomorrow. Oh well, best laid plans of mice and men. By the way, the terminals I bought specifically for that 8-gauge wire actually were 2-gauge, so I can't put them on anyway. So, that'll have to be fixed as well.